Listen, there's a difference between us thinking and believing that there was EI, right? Like interference, and there being evidence that there is, because there cannot be any actual result unless there is evidence. It doesn't matter. If you go into court and you tell the judge the sky is blue, they're gonna want you to prove it. Where's the evidence? Everyone can see the sky. Everyone can see that it's blue, but can you prove that it's blue? It doesn't matter if we can see that it's blue. That is how justice works. I don't make it. So what does that tell us in regards to the scale that is needed in order for there to be a substantial conclusion that something may seal his fate? That is his own admission, because what's happening is he has the audacity because he believes that he's going to go in. He believes he's going to be immune. He believes he's going to be the head of the three letters. He believes he's going to be a tyrant, and in fact, if he goes in, he will. So when a serial unaliver gets really confident, they start making a lot of really reckless narcissistic decisions that actually gets them caught, because then what's produced? Evidence, because they leave things behind. They leave little crumbs for what? For our cake. But how do you know that this will be enough? It will be enough because there's actual things that you can see. See, the difference between the crime of G-side is the fact that there is no international law measure to actually dictate what exactly does this mean. This is why the ICC did not convict Netanyahu of G-side but of war crimes, because it's much easier to measure war crimes than it is to measure G-side, right? In our reality, it's much easier to measure FI, than it is to measure disqualification, because there is so much ambiguity. So if your helplessness is from the fact that they didn't disqualify him, know that that is because there is such defectiveness in our constitutional interpretations through willingness or unwillingness through the different branches, that it just keeps us in confusion of whose authority is it, and everyone keeps giving it to someone else. No one actually knows. But when it comes to FI, when it comes to EI, that can be measured. Even if we ourselves cannot imagine a traditional mechanism in which this can be achieved in so little time before tomorrow, or even little bit after that, before he becomes the official head of the three letters and has immunity, we have to realize that the Nuremberg trials, which was the criminal courts that were created to respond to the severe crimes that happened during the Holocaust, was an unprecedented, lawful, non-traditional mechanism of justice for an unprecedented crimes. Why? Yeah, there wasn't any actual international law mechanism or international criminal justice guidebook that would say, hey, this is illegal, this is illegal. So what they had to do was prosecute them for things that were yet not illegal on the global scale. What were these things? Crimes against humanity. All of these things weren't technically illegal on a global scale to where they would induce global consequences, so they had to make something up, and they did. When did Germany surrender? 1945. When did the Nuremberg trials start? 1945. They also did war crimes. That's violations of the laws or customs of war. That's unaliving of prisoners of war, unaliving of hostages, plundering of public or private property, wanton destruction of cities, towns, or villages. Now, this is what Netanyahu was found guilty of by The Hague. Also, NZ's got crimes against peace, planning, preparing, or waging war of aggression, waging war in violation of international agreements, participating in conspiracy to commit any of the above crimes. Now, the crime of aggression is what Putin got a ICC warrant. So what this tells us is that just because we do not see the traditional methods of what is there doesn't mean that there cannot be any non-traditional solutions to it. But also the fact that just because we believe there is evidence doesn't mean that, legally speaking, there is binding merited evidence for it. For G's side, I can see as an international law scholar that yes, there is, but can I prove it with evidence? You may say, well, there's evidence here, but is it actual evidence? Think about this. Say I live in a Asian community, right? Pretend I'm white. I'm the only white guy there. One day I wake up and I just feel really, belligerent. So I go and do some damage to my neighbors. The question then becomes, was it just something that I did just because I'm a bad person? Was it something I did because I had some breakdown? Was it something I did because of their specific demographic? Now you can say, hey, it was the demographic, but are you sure? Because it could have just been, I just wanted to, harm people, and it just so happened that I was surrounded by my neighbors who just so happened to be within that demographic. So it gets complicated. So just because you say this is evidence doesn't mean that can be used as merit within the larger framework of getting him out of the presidency, right? So I need y'all to be comfortable in this. We don't actually know how it's gonna go down, but something's gonna go down. That's going to change us for generations to come, whether that's good or whether that's terrible. It's gonna be fascinating. MAGA are gonna cry and they're gonna take all of Costco's tissue paper, but it's going to be beautiful. America lives, the Constitution lives. Traitors are not welcomed here.